Hi there. PPR the man, that's who I am. This week's edition of Here's the Thing, September 31st, 2014. Well, once again, I have to thank a certain Facebook friend who shall remain nameless because I have yet to ask him for permission to use his name. Suffice it to say, he's related to someone who I knew many years ago. He knows who he is. However, I picked this up off of Facebook, this little post here. It's called Chronic Illness Bingo. You need to get out more. Are you getting enough sleep? You sleep too much. You don't look sick. Positive thinking. My friend was cured by yesterday. Why can't you today? Have you tried? You need to exercise. I wish I had time to nap. You should try this diet. Oh, I get that too. Are you trying hard enough? Dr. Oz says, I wish I didn't have to work. It could be worse. Just push through it. It's made up by big pharmaceutical companies. You should stop. Are you better yet? You're just stressed. I haven't heard of that. Is it real? You have that because you take too many medications. That isn't the half of it. You know, it's time for a sound bite. According to the media, I am too fat, too weak, hyperactive, too inactive, depressed, stressed, overanxious, unable to maintain a proper erection, rife with any number of cancers or heart conditions, have had too much bad cholesterol, too little good cholesterol, don't eat right, don't sleep well, don't own the right things, cannot get or hold a job at my age, don't dress right, don't think clearly enough, and I am at risk of losing my entire life as I know it, not to mention the fact that I'm going bald. OMG. Did you like that? That was from March 29th, 2010 edition of Here's the Thing. Actually, on the website there, if you click on the theory behind the show, that's the show I use to explain basically what I'm about most of the time when I do these shows. So with that in mind, okay, isn't that what you hear every day? I mean, I watch a lot of TV, unfortunately, now that I'm retired. I mean, not as much as you might think. But there's times when I literally don't have anything important to do. And most of the programming in the afternoons on history and discovery, science, and so forth is geared towards an audience my age. And how can I tell? And I can tell by the commercials. The commercials for male enhancement products, testosterone builders, mesothelioma lawyers, bad drug, 1-800-BAD-DRUG, and cures for just about anything, from health food stores and health food vendors whose results have not been tested by the FDA, and results may vary from person to person. And I'm sure you've seen it all. I'm sure you've heard it all, especially if you're my age. But what is all that really about? Well, if you'll recall, or if you want to check on it, listening to the episode from 3/29/10, you'll find out that one of the things that Marshall McLuhan said back in the 70s was that the business of advertising is to advertise advertising. And basically what they're doing is they're trying to convince you that you have something wrong with you so that you'll try their cure. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. Chantix, for instance, just as an example, Chantix, the anti-smoking drug, is actually an offshoot of Wellbutrin, which is a powerful mood-altering drug used in cases of manic depression and so forth, schizophrenia and that. Side effects can be absolutely horrendous. I mean, I don't have to tell you that sometimes the side effects are worse than what it is you're trying to treat. Liver disease, tuberculosis, reduced immunity to infection, heart conditions, death. If you suffer death, call 1-800-BAD-DRUG. And how many of those drugs, Viagra, Cialis, for a couple of major examples, are now all of a sudden showing up on these 1-800-BAD-DRUG commercials? Now, I'm not going to get totally involved in the massive pharmaceutical companies' conspiracy to make billions upon billions of dollars on untested products. I think we can all agree that greed has a tremendous role in what's going on. And a lot of countries don't approve some of the things that the United States government approves for public use. Likewise, a lot of other countries approve a lot of things that the United States government doesn't approve. And there's a big controversy there, and that's not what I'm talking about today. What I'm talking about is how easily convinced we are that we need these things. And the entire motive for convincing us is so that they can sell them. That's no other reason. I think that a lot of the mental stress and psychological problems are brought about by the fact that people are sitting around worrying about what's wrong with them. Now, I'll be the first to admit, as I turn 64, that I realize that the bulk of my life is behind me. And without wanting to dwell on anything depressing, it's obvious to most of us our age that we're not going to get any better. Okay? The old saying was, it takes me all day to do what I used to do all day. I heard a guy the other day, I was sitting in my son's, in the lobby of my son's karate school there, and a man came in, he said he just turned 63, and he can still do what a 19-year-old does. So can I. Just takes me a little longer, and I'm a little bit more sore and tired afterwards. So beware of people who try to tell you who you are and where you're at. For all you viewers there, I'm sorry about that little glitch, but my cell phone went off, and I had to answer it. Beware of people who tell you who you are and where you're at. Okay, basically what that boils down to is the old self-fulfilling prophecy. One of the major tenets of communication is the self-fulfilling prophecy. If you say something often enough, it becomes true. And we've seen that in politics, we've seen that in so-called science. Global warming. There, I just stepped on somebody's toes. Global warming. You say it often enough and it becomes true. People think it's true. If you allow people to tell you that something's wrong with you for long enough, then you think that something's wrong with you. And the only people who benefit are the pharmaceutical companies, the health food makers, the Dr. Oz's of the world, the diet pushers, the pill pushers, if you will, the doctors. You're going to visit them and find out, is this wrong with me? Is that wrong with me? You know, one of the problems, especially men my age have, is we don't want to go to the doctor for fear of what we might find out. And I'll admit I'm part of that crowd. And if I'm not falling down and unable to function, then I have no reason to go to the doctor. But by the time I'm falling down and unable to function, it might be too late. That's a grim reality. Okay, it's true at any age, but more so as you grow older. Basically, what I'm getting at there is, you know, again, follow the money and realize that people are profiting from your anxiety. And in fact, anxiety itself is a medicatable problem. And there's all kinds of medications out there for anxiety. You know, Abilify with your antidepressant. Why are you depressed? Now, I'm not saying there aren't people out there that are depressed. But what I'm saying is there's a lot more people out there that are depressed than there used to be. Is that because we have better technology and better science to find them? Or is it because there really are more people out there that are depressed than there used to be? Food for thought. Okay, let me do a little analysis here. Let's go on the premise that there are more people out there who are depressed than there used to be. Why might that be? Why might that be? Well, small things. As an example of a larger thing, gasoline prices have gone up 1,000% since 1967. My income, I'm sure nobody else, very few people, if any people's income, has gone up 1,000% since 1967. Now, there are people out there who, now the generations that are becoming the majority, if you will, slowly but surely, who don't remember that. They've still seen it go up 100% or more. That's symptomatic. Symptomatic. My father used to raise our family and pay our mortgage, pay for his automobiles, utilities and groceries and taxes on no more than $7,000 a year. And now people making $45,000 a year or less are considered eligible for subsidies for Obamacare. Poverty level is a lot more than $7,000 a year. Now that's just the economic side of it. People get depressed over economics because love of money is the root of all evil. But without it, you can't function. That's part of it right there. We're constantly being reminded of those who are more successful than we are. This mythical group of people who, every time they go to a website or an agency or a job, they're instantly good at what they do and they're instantly successful because they went to a certain school or a certain online university or a ITT Tech, you know, and so forth. I'm not disparaging these institutions. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying that they're using the fact that people are insecure in order to grow their market. We're never doing enough. Again, you know, if you're a street sweeper, just be the best street sweeper you can be. And maybe you'll be the head street sweeper one day. If you want to advance, then do something like go to school to advance, or get more education in your workplace if it's available, or whatever the case may be, in order to become more financially stable. And understand that the only thing that never changes is that everything changes. You could be flying high today and shot down, flying high in April, shot down in May, quote Frank Sinatra's rendition of That's Life. One of the things I guess we pick up as we grow older is that we get to the point where we don't have a whole lot new happening to us, and we feel that we have a little bit more control over our decisions and our environment because it isn't changing as quickly as it used to. To a large degree, that's true. But the advertisers would have us think that there's something inadequate about us if we allow that to happen. Okay, the testosterone people. Okay, men are missing out on life because their testosterone is low. God made us a certain way, and we degrade in a certain way, if you will. And any effort we make to change that process is not going to amount to any more than changing that process for momentarily. Mother Nature is going to catch up with us. That doesn't mean resign yourself to sitting on a couch and wasting away. I've always preached, personal excellence, which is to say, do all that you can, control what you can control, be who you are, use your abilities, use your talents, enjoy them. Obviously, we're not going to have them forever, so let's enjoy what we have. Let's use it to benefit ourselves and the people around us. If we find ourselves somehow diminished, then either if it's a medical condition, perhaps it can be corrected. But if it's because you've given in to the fact that everyone else tells you that you're less than you used to be, there's a problem there. That window with 4 panes in it that's on the heresdathing.com Facebook page, things that other people know about you that you don't know about yourself. You get too involved in that, and you're going to find out that a lot of those people are wrong. I'm kind of rambling here, but when I, again, get back to the point, allowing other people to form your image of yourself is something that's going to lead to your downfall psychologically at some point in time, or emotionally, because you can't control what other people think of you. You can only control what you present. What they think is going to be set within their framework, within their context, within their understanding of life, not within yours. They can advise you. They can tell you what they did. They can tell you how they handled it. But ultimately it's going to be up to you as to how you handle your situations if you're diminished, or if you find yourself failing at something that you previously succeeded at. It's not up to them to fix it. It's not up to them to change the system so that it fits you. It's up to you to adapt and to do research and to educate yourself and to remember that you can be educated, assuming, again, that you're mentally and physically capable of learning. There's no end to what you can learn. So why be depressed about it? You can say to yourself, well, that's a really sad situation. I need to do something about that. What can you control? You can't control the fact that the situation occurred, but you can control the outcome. Now, again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there are no people out there who run into true disabilities and true health problems and true mental problems. And they can be caused by any number of things. The pharmaceutical companies would have you believe that it's your body chemistry that causes them. So with the weight people. So with the testosterone people. And to a large degree that may be true, but again, basically unavoidable because of who we are as far as beings, sentient beings, animals in the animal kingdom. Our bodies function in certain ways that were put in there when we were born. And we do certain things and don't do certain things in our lives that might cause triggers, if you will, or bring about conditions that might not have existed had we done things differently. Oh well. But advertisers, they just play on that and they just beat you down and they just make you feel inadequate every time you turn around. You know, you don't look like the person on the magazine cover. You're not you don't have the notoriety of a celebrity. You don't have the looks or the knowledge of a celebrity or a politician. You don't have the performance level of a 30-year-old or a 20-year-old or a 25-year-old. It's a matter of, it's all relative. It's all relative. I just look at those commercials and I think to myself, yeah, I'll be the first to admit, like I say, that it might take me all day to do what I used to do all day, but that doesn't mean I can't do it. That just means I have to set a different standard for myself in terms of what I expect to get done in a given moment or a given time or on a given project or in a given endeavor. It's adjustment. I'm still me. I still have the same problems, the same thoughts, the same ambitions in life as far as what I'd like to leave behind, if you will, what I'm accomplishing right now. That doesn't change. It's just a matter of the means to the end. What means do I need to get to that end? How do I reach that goal? I listen to all that stuff and I realize it's out there. But I also realize that running around looking for all that is going to take away from my ability to accomplish anything meaningful. And all I'm going to be doing is lining the pockets of a bunch of people who would like me to believe that I'm deficient. There's something wrong with me. Like the soundbite said when I was joking about it. I was actually joking and being serious at the same time, in case you hadn't already picked that up. If I sit around and dwell on all the things that were in the soundbite, then I'm going to need some of those medications that I see advertised on TV. And I don't want those. I don't want to have to depend on something outside of me, as you will, a chemical, to make me right. If I develop a true medical condition that requires medication, nice to know that it's there. But then I get depressed because I have to hear about all the possible side effects. The fact that I may be curing one thing and causing another. And again, I'm not going to get into the controversy over pharmaceuticals and why they're a multi-billion-dollar business and why they are allowed to release drugs into the market that cure one thing and cause another. It's just not worth discussing because we all know it's happening. None of us are stupid enough to ignore the fact that that occurs. So, again, we just have to remember, based on this, clinical illness bingo, all through your life, you're going to have moments when you wonder if something's wrong with you. And all through your life, you're going to be asking other people in your own way what they think about you and how you're acting and how you behave and how you perform and so on and so on and so on. Looking for approval. We all do it. There's no harm in that. We'll get some and sometimes we won't. It's a matter of rolling with the punches, if you will. I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't like a lot of what I say, but I don't care. I have the right to say it, and they have the right not to like it. And they have the right to say what they have to say, and I have the right not to like it. It's not going to change who I am. It's not going to change what I think. It's not going to change how I look at things. It's going to help me evolve, hopefully, in terms of my thinking, in terms of my feeling of well-being. I'm going to be grateful for the fact that I was exposed to knowledge, whether I agree with it or not. That's what this show is about. I always said in the past, you know, I'm here to make you think. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to disagree with me. But if I give you one thing to think about, it makes you go out and try to find a reason to look at that issue in some different manner, or back up the same manner you've been looking at it through, then I've accomplished something. I've made you think. I made you want to gain a little bit more knowledge, gain a little bit more experience, gain a little bit more ability to filter the information that's flying at you constantly in this age of too much information. So again, you know, to sum it all up, you know, tell them what you're going to say, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you said, to sum everything up. We can avoid all this clinical illness bingo, a lot of it anyway, if we just stop allowing other people that we perceive as authorities to tell us who we should be and that we aren't all we could be. It's that simple. We know ourselves better than anyone. One of the things that doctors have had to learn over the decades is how to listen to their patients and not tell their patients what's wrong before their patients tell them. Because doctors can be wrong. My wife experienced that. Spending 6 months in agony while her gallbladder went bad. And all the time the doctor's telling her it's anxiety attacks because she had had anxiety attacks in the past at that time. So she wasted 6 months of time when she could have been cured, chasing down something that wasn't wrong with her at that point in time. It's rough. Who do you blame in a situation like that? You know, who do you blame? So, I've seen it happen to people, is what I'm getting at. And it could happen to me. On any given day, if I'm not in a good mood, I could be thinking about the fact that things aren't like they used to be, that I can't do what I used to do, that I'm more tired than I was, that I can't take the heat as much as I could before, or the cold, that I have to stop working more often in order to take a break so I can continue later, that I can only do one project in a day instead of 6, you know, things like that. That there's certain jobs that I can do that I'd rather not do because they're a little bit more physically demanding than they used to be. And I have 2 choices. I can get depressed about it, try to blame other people, other things, other circumstances, seek all these different cures, which may or may not work and may actually cause more problems than they solve. Or I can change the way I do things and still get them done. Retiring was the biggest change of all, and it's allowed me to get things done because I don't have to hurry up and do them now. So I changed my outlook in that regard. I left one job for another. And I don't want to become a couch potato. So I find things to do. And most of them had to be done. I just kept putting them off while I was working because I didn't have the time. So you see how that works. Those of you who are still working don't have the time. Your employers are demanding a whole lot more out of you than they used to for the same or less money than they used to. You know, you can't control that. You can't control that. How do you adapt? How do you adapt? Well, one of the ways of adapting isn't medicating. It isn't taking supplements. It isn't listening to Dr. Oz or the people of his ilk. What it is knowing what your goals are and working on those personal goals within the framework you have at the time. And if the framework changes, then you change the way you work towards the same goals. Life doesn't end every time things change. It just goes in a different direction. So, again, let's be wary. Let's be wary of the chronic illness bingo. Let's not harp about what's wrong with us. Let's harp about what's right. Political tidbit here. In a never-ending effort to devote less of my shows to politics, I nevertheless have to devote a few minutes. And in this particular case, I finally figured out what the Democrats plan to do to try to avert disaster in the midterm elections in November. Greg Orman, a political enigma, faces growing scrutiny in Kansas Senate race. Okay, this is from Philip Rucker at, let's see, where are we at here? Washington Post. Philip Rucker, the Washington Post. Okay, Greg Orman is an independent candidate for Senate in Kansas against the incumbent GOP Senator Pat Roberts. The Democrat in the race has dropped out, and Greg Orman all of a sudden showed up. And he won't say where he stands on anything. He's an independent, and he won't know till he gets there. Kind of sounds like Obamacare. We won't know till we read it. He won't specify what he thinks about gun control, the XL pipeline, green light, the XL pipeline. He won't say. He doesn't have enough information. He's according to the Post here, his rise has transformed the deep red Kansas into the year's unlikeliest political battleground. Why? Well, we remember various third-party candidates in presidential elections who took votes away from one side or the other, causing the other side to be elected. What better way to destroy the Republican voter base than to appeal to the independents? So this is what they're going to do. They're going to throw this third-party candidate in, if you will, and hope to take away enough votes from the Republicans to get a person who was a Democrat. He has a liberal record. He has a, let's see here, he's a multimillionaire investor who's partially funding his own campaign. Let's see, what else do we have here? Okay, well, again, he is shown, let's see here. Yeah. Orman, who has previous ties to the Democratic Party but preaches independence. Gee, what a surprise. If you can't beat them, join them? I don't know. But, again, if a person won't say where they stand, don't vote for them. It's that simple. Well, we're reaching the near end of this edition of Here's the Thing. And, on that note, I have to remind all of you who aren't watching that you can contact this show at hdt2010@roadrunner.com via email. You can view the show on YouTube or Google+. You can contact the show through the Facebook page, heresdathing.com. If you're using YouTube or Google+, use the search term, Here's the Thing. By doing that, you can provide me with feedback. And that feedback becomes my feed. You tell me what you're thinking, and I'll tell you why you're thinking it. Once again, you may not always be right, but you're never wrong. I may not always be right, but I'm never wrong. So is there any unrespected opinions out there? No. So my hope is you'll contact us, you'll let us know what you're thinking, and we'll do shows about you and your thoughts. Well, as luck would have it, we've reached the end of our show. DPR the man, that's who I am, and Estopiki Productions, along with WELB DBJ Radio, has proudly brought you this edition of Here's the Thing for September 30th, 2014. It is my sincere hope that you will have a good day, a good week, a good life, and come back and see us again next week for the next edition of Here's the Thing. You may even be a part of it.